All right, and we're live. We got UFC 283 right here, and we got Johnny Walker fighting somebody, fighting some no name guy. Round one is about to start right now, and just getting settled in here. And round one begins. Let's see. Johnny Walker's an interesting case because the other guy's name is Paul Craig. Because he did really good as he came up through the UFC. People were saying um, that he's going to be the next guy to beat John Jones, but then he got a couple of losses, and it's interesting how fast things go and how he's moved out of that situation. Just letting a couple of people know that I'm live right now, as this is the first fight, and hopefully we could get some people in the chat and get some moves going. Um, but man, it's crazy how it's hard to gauge the level of some of these UFC fighters, where Johnny Walker was easily running through these bottom tier UFC fighters. Excuse me. And how he went up against some higher level opponents, and man, he got beaten really bad. Jamal Hill, who is in the main event here, was the guy that knocked out Johnny Walker really, really badly, where he did this crazy delayed reaction movement with his arms, and it actually looked like a very scary knockout. And it's also interesting, too. Johnny Walker's obviously a huge athlete. He celebrated in the cage after one of his victories, and he really injured his shoulder during the celebration. And he needed shoulder surgery and everything. And man, having lots of surgeries wears on you and your athletic career. Hey, Ken Shaloya says, "Hey, son, love you so much, Dad." Oof, Johnny Walker looks like he's almost going to knock this guy out here. The guy, the fight ended. Just to commentate on what happened. Oh, and he's still doing the celebration that injured his shoulder before. He's doing the worm. The guy picked up a single leg and he knocked him out while he was hopping on one leg doing a single leg. That sounds like standard Johnny Walker stuff. He's obviously very happy, still celebrating. And Mackenzie Dern is in the audience looking fine as always. Mackenzie Dern was everyone's crush in jiu-jitsu, and then she became an MMA fighter and became super famous MMA. Oof. Wow, they're showing the replay of the knockout here. And man, there's something to be said in martial arts for being able to generate power from unconventional places and unconventional stances. And that's sort of what happened here, where he threw a front kick and the guy caught his front kick. Standard move out to the side and um, catch the kick. A valuable technique to know, but it didn't pan out for him too well in this case. There's a Bruce Lee punch called the 1-inch punch that many people know of. And the drill for the 1-inch punch, what the actual purpose of that is to be able to generate power from unconventional type places, and to be able to generate power from an inch away from the camera, or an inch away from whatever he's in contact with, where you create a wave through your body, and then you at the end of the wave are able to use that to actually punch people or inflict some sort of damage. So Johnny Walker gets a lot of his KOs from unconventional type places, and it takes a real athlete and a person who understands how to move and manipulate their body to be able to punch and strike from places where they're traditionally out of position. And that's what we saw there from Johnny Walker. Ken Shalay says, it's funny, I watched Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, The Economist, a very smart man. Well, I doubt it's the same guy. And if it is, he is a little bit dumber after that knockout. By the way, Dad, if you're watching, I know it's not the same guy. And they're obviously two different people. Yes, different guy. Yes. Yeah, I get it. I know they're not the same guy. I love you though. Don't take it too literally. Um, but this dude just got knocked out. I got 2 viewers. That might be an all-time record for the channel. Who else do I got watching? Make sure to throw something in the comments. Would love to hear from my crazy amount of viewership that I got going right here. Wow, it's crazy to see how much bigger Johnny Walker looks than DC, where I believe this is the light heavyweight division, where it's 205 pounds. But DC was the heavyweight champion of the world, and Johnny Walker makes him look like a small pipsqueak. But it's interesting. DC is there lemon in the water. There is lime. There is lime in the water. I got one of the cold glasses from the freezer, and I threw some lime in there. I'm actually out of lemons and limes, so if you come over in the next 2 days, oh my God, Johnny Walker's taking a picture, and what he did is he did the full splits and had his teammates hold him up from the full splits. That is ridiculous. What an athlete he is. But as I was saying, Dad, I got no more lemons and limes. So if you come over, I don't got any lemons and limes for the water. I'm sorry. I mean, unless I go shopping. But we shall see. We got an interesting night of fights coming up. We got Johnny Walker, who just fought. And let me see. I'm going to look up the whole card for you guys. Next is Lauren Murphy versus Jessica Andrade, which, if I'm being totally honest with you about, I am not thrilled with. But Lauren Murphy, I believe her last fight was against Miesha Tate, and I gotta hand it to her in that fight. Yeah, her last fight was against Miesha Tate. I got to hand it to her in that fight because Miesha Tate is no slouch in the UFC. And she really did a good job in fighting Miesha Tate and deserved her victory. Miesha Tate was on a tear coming back into MMA, and Lauren Murphy really kind of put a stop to that. And it was pretty wild to see, as I had Miesha Tate as a big favorite in that fight. But I was also so upset to see Miesha Tate in her last grappling match. She competed in this thing called UFC 3, where it was a grappling event. And Dad, if you're watching, can you believe this? Miesha Tate, who fought Ronda Rousey twice, got armbarred twice. Got armbarred again in the jiu-jitsu event that the UFC put on, and it was clear. Oh, we got 4 viewers. Maybe the chat has joined in. Much love to you guys. Make sure to throw something in the comments. But Dad, she clearly did not do her homework on the armbar, and it was abysmal. They had overtime rounds where she got an armbar and her opponent got the armbar position, and she clearly demonstrated poor understanding and poor mechanics of how to properly apply and defend the armbar. How is that possible if you have fought Ronda Rousey twice and gotten armbarred by her twice? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. If I had a student that was going to fight Ronda Rousey, they would do so many rounds of specific training on the armbar that they would be sick. They'd be sick of learning the armbar. And especially if you lose via submission in a jiu-jitsu competition or especially in the UFC, you train and you train and you train to not lose the same way again. I mean, it's almost insane because part of the actual growth of the competition is it hurts your ego so bad to lose in that way that you say, I never am going to lose like that again. And not only did Misha Tate lose the first time to Ronda Rousey via armbar, not only did she lose the second time to Ronda Rousey via armbar, she, Ken Shaloy says, you are so right about Tate and the armbar. It's insane. She went back and fought in a jiu-jitsu competition where the overtime rounds, you start in the armbar position. She still didn't train the armbar. I mean, that is ludicrous. That's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous. She looked like a blue belt at best in the armbar position. Maybe even white belt. And I'm a huge Misha Tate fan. When it comes to female fighters, Misha Tate might be my favorite fighter, but she really let me down on that one. I mean, how do you not investigate that? Blows my mind. If it was my student, I would go crazy. I would go crazy if you're fighting Ronda Rousey and you don't understand the armbar, or you're fighting a jiu-jitsu champion with armbar overtime rounds and you don't understand the armbar. It's crazy. And maybe, not understanding the armbar is a harsh way to say it, because in fairness, Ronda Rousey's probably one of the best people ever when it comes to applying arm bars. And she did go against a jiu-jitsu world champion who did have a good knowledge and understanding of arm bars. But it is a learnable technique that she should be at the forefront of knowledge on. Anyway, Ken Shaloy says, is it true you know more than 1,000 arm bars? Yes, I do. Armbar is probably my favorite technique. I believe it is the most available technique. And there is so much depth, so much information when it comes to the armbar. However, when you really look at the end finishing position, I mean, 1,000 arm bars, yes, that's a lot of material, a lot of information. Thaddeus Harvey says, who do you consider to be the man of a million holds? Give me 1 second, Thad. I'm just going to finish this point. That you have only a certain amount of leg positions that you use to finish the armbar. About 6, maybe 7 are effective, of different ways and setups to finish the armbar position. And you need to understand those 6 or 7 ways to finish the armbar and the defenses of all of those ways, the advantages and disadvantages of all of those methods. And if you understand that, then you really have a good hold on how somebody's going to finish the armbar, how to escape from it, and to take advantage of the weaknesses that are in that variation of the armbar to be able to defend and escape and get out, and vice versa to understand it well enough to be able to enact it and finish the fight with it. And Tate should have learned at least those last 6 or 7 finishing holds um, in leg position to be able to finish the armbar. Anyway, I digress. That will will never sit right with me, but it is what it is. Thaddeus says, "Who do you consider to be the man of a million holds?" I'm guessing, Thad, what you mean by that is a guy with a lot of submission holds. There is a guy named Alexei Olenek who he has submitted people with many, many different submission holds. He is a guy who does a no gi Ezekiel choke where he grabs onto his own wrist and then punches this hand into the neck. And he's got like 4 or 5 finishes, and it's an extremely unconventional submission. He's even done it from the bottom of the mount, and you're really not supposed to submit somebody from the bottom of the mount. It's sort of unheard of, but he's such an expert at this technique that he'll invite some guy to have the mounted position on top of him and still get this no gi Ezekiel variation. He also he's really good at the traditional submissions, but he's also really good at a lot of these unconventional submissions too, where there's a position within itself. And one of the most famous examples of this in jiu-jitsu is Dean Lister versus Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett submitted Dean Lister um, with this Keisugatame position, and this guy Alexei Olenek utilizes it many, many times in the UFC, and it's a submission by asphyxiation where you you basically drown the guy. Thaddeus says, between martial artists, I mean, who do you consider to be the man of a million holds? Between martial artists, I mean, who do you consider to be the man of a million holds? Between martial artists, I mean. Thad, I'm drawing a blank here on what exactly you're trying to ask me by this question. I love you. I appreciate you contributing, but I'm just not quite sure. Not quite sure what you're trying to ask me. I mean, when I think of holds, I think of submission holds. And I thought that that was your question, but I'm not quite sure I understand. If you could please rephrase, I'd be happy to answer your question. Um, let's see. Oh, we got this chick, Lauren Murphy versus Jessica Andrade. Yes, okay. All right, there is a little bit of hype in here in this fight where, oh man, Megan O'Leary. Thad, if you're still watching, and Megan O'Leary is a Latina, then I'm a fan. Just so you know. Lauren Murphy is the chick who beat Misha Tate, and Jessica Andrade is the chick that beat Rose Namajunas, and she threw Rose on her head. She's got this, she's doing her walkout right now. Jessica Andrade has got this crazy Indian feathered headpiece on that is not only as big as her head, but it spans all the way down to her butt. And she's wearing so many beads that she's trying to take off, but they're literally stuck in her hair that she can't take them off. Man, I wish I could answer Thad's question. I'm so excited that he's here. Um, I'm gonna even send him a message. Thad, I don't get what you mean. I wish I did. I wish I did. Thad is, besides my dad, my number one fan. So the deal with this fight, though, with these two chicks, Lauren Murphy and Jessica Andrade, is these are two hardcore chicks where I wouldn't rate their skill level to be very high, but I would say that they are both very gritty fighters. They both have that dog in them, as someone would say. Ken Shalai says Hoist Gracie is known for a lot of submission holds. I guess I'd have to agree with that. Yes. Yes. Um, yeah, I guess I'd have to agree. I guess I'd have to agree. You know, it's interesting. Hoist Gracie, he was fighting in the UFC back where there was like four fights in one night. It was tournament style, and he fought four people in one night. And he did this in UFC one. Maybe he fought like three people in like UFC three because he was injured in one of them and couldn't continue in the next fight. Um, but I believe Hoist won UFC one, two, and four, and was injured in three. So a lot of these people have really long careers where they have 50, 60, 70 fights. I mean, look at Alistair Overeem. That guy is still fighting. You know who I'm talking about, Dad, right? Alistair Overeem. And some of these guys who have had very long careers and so many fights have, a huge plethora of submission holds. Like I was saying, that guy, Alexei Olenek, has so many different submission holds. And while it's true, Royce Gracie is known for a lot of submission holds, and jiu-jitsu is his martial art, and he submitted people with a variety of different techniques. Comparatively today, where you have guys that have two, three, four, five times the amount of fights as Royce, there are people with even more submission holds than him. Thaddeus says, I believe YouTube is censoring my questions. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. The Matrix. They're out to get us. Oh, all right. Well, we're gonna defeat them, Thad. Thad sent me a picture of his questions. All right. Okay, I'm gonna read Thad's questions here, and I can see why they might have been deleted. Okay, who do you consider to be the man of a million holds? Do you think intergender BJJ could be a form of romantic foreplay? Let me think about this. Do you think intergender BJJ could be a form of romantic foreplay? That's a very multifaceted question, Thad. um, well, I know particularly for me and my job and working in a jujitsu school, that sort of thing is highly frowned upon. However, I think that BJJ in a different setting could be a form of romantic foreplay among two consenting adults. Do you think intergender BJJ could be a form of romantic foreplay? I'm going to say among consenting adults outside of the academy, very much so, Thad. If you got any Oh my gosh. Okay. He said, like the final hold is penetration or whatever. Well, the fight is beginning between Lauren Murphy and Jessica Andrade, but I think this question is way more fascinating. Like the final hold is penetration or whatever. You know, sometimes, Thad, it can be tough to get to the final hold. Sometimes it can be tough. I think the difference here is that in a lot of final holds, there's a clear winner and a clear loser in a lot of BJJ situations. But if the final hold is penetration among consenting adults, then I think really everybody is a winner. Anyway, I got a fight going on here. Let's see what's happening because I haven't looked at it for a second. Thad sent an emoji of someone laughing. Thank you so much, Thad. If you got any more questions, please throw them in the chat, in the YouTube chat, or throw them in the chat on Instagram that we got. We're not going to let the Matrix stop us. All right, we got 3 minutes, 22 seconds left in this first round here. So far, we got Lauren Murphy in a shirt and Jessica Andrade in the sports bra. It's looking like Lauren Murphy is looking to make this a striking and grappling fight, and um, Jessica Andrade is really just looking to make this a kickboxing bout. Jessica Andrade is throwing more looping punches with a little bit more chaos and lack of technique. And Lauren Murphy has decided to take the more technical route. I like to see her punches just go straight down the pipe. And there's many drills that you could do in striking to make sure your punches are straight. A great example of this is Stipe Miocic. His boxing a lot of times is so clean. Oof, some big hooks here from Jessica Andrade on Lauren Murphy. His boxing is so clean that when he throws a strike, it just comes right down the pipe and right into your face. Lauren Murphy struggles to take this fight to the ground, has a really intense wrestling scramble here, and ends up in a situation where they are back on their feet. In a fight, one of the things that is most precious is your energy conservation. And when you are fighting hard to get a lot of takedowns and you are not achieving success, it is very demoralizing and difficult to deal with. But wow, these chicks look like they are hitting really, really hard. Jessica Andrade really has some power in her punches. And it looks like Lauren Murphy is feeling the effects of some of these punches. While her striking may not be as technical, it seems to be doing more damage. Something that I don't see talked about a lot in fights too is like just some people's um, like genetic makeup. They look less durable, and Lauren Murphy looks way less durable in this fight than Jessica Andrade. She's really getting punched in the face and beat up here by Jessica Andrade. For example, I think Lauren Murphy's nose is broken. Uh, her nose is really red, and she looks like she's wearing the strikes more. I think this is a something that we'll see later in the Davison Figueiredo fight versus Brandon Moreno, where I believe Brandon Moreno is the better fighter, but Davison Figueiredo is less likely to take damage. Oh, excellent double leg cutting the angle here from Lauren Murphy, and ends up on her back, but They've scrambled back to their feet. Man, Lauren Murphy getting beaten up on the feet here. 3 seconds left in this round. And time. Whew. What a round. I gotta hand it to these chicks. They are out there fighting. They are out there fighting. But like I was saying, Davison Figueredo, he is stronger, like more durable, more powerful, and that's important because when someone throws a strike, that strike means more than when the other person throws their counter strike, or it's not an exact 1-to-1 ratio. And I think that's a major thing that we're seeing here in this Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy fight. Jessica Andrade looks so strong, so durable, so athletically compact. And Lauren Murphy, while she may have what appears to be technical superiority in her striking and grappling, seems to be wearing a lot more of the punches. Round two, here we go. Jessica Andrade with a round kick to the stomach. I also wonder, this is something that I was thinking a lot about last time. There's a huge difference when you are grappling when you are shirtless to when you're wearing a rash guard. And I wonder how much women's clothing affects the outcome of the fight. Where, men are basically just allowed to have different shorts, and women have a variety of different options that they could choose between sports bras, shirts, and a couple options in between. I'm not exactly an expert on all the different things that you can wear if you're a female fighter, but I do know that there's a lot of options. Hmm. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. If you guys are watching, throw me a comment. Would love to hear what you guys think so far. Who is winning? I would say Jessica Andrade is winning the fight, even though it seems that she doesn't possess the same technical ability as her opponent. She seems to be doing more damage and accepting less damage. Hmm. Having some trouble here with the technology. All right, we're back up. Okay. Thank you all for staying with me. We got 2 minutes left in round number two here, and it looks like Lauren Murphy's nose is definitely broken at this point, and that Jessica Andrade has now made it a target. Also, it looks like um, Lauren Murphy's knee might be a little bit jacked up, as she doesn't seem to be doing so good after she gets leg kicked by Andrade as well. It's wild too to see like the proportions of Andrade, her body, like her legs. She's got these tree trunk legs, where again Lauren Murphy just does not have that same kind of build. But Lauren Murphy's definitely bleeding pretty heavily out of her nose, and Lauren Murphy goes for a double leg takedown. Jessica Andrade sprawls and defends and ends up in a front headlock type situation where she is on top of the turtle. 51 seconds left in the first round. Lauren Murphy fighting the hands, doing the right thing, and gets back up to her feet. Oof. Lauren Murphy's definitely taking a beating in this fight. Jessica Andrade clearly wants to make it a striking battle. Oof. And time. That's the end of the second round. Jessica Andrade really putting a serious pace on Lauren Murphy, and I don't see how Lauren Murphy could really win this fight. They're showing the cameras on her now with her corner. Looks like she's going to get a hematoma too on her forehead here, which is kind of rough. All right. I think my friend Mike is having a super fight at High Roller, so good luck to Mike. Thad says, "Do you think they should stop the fights?" Whew. That's a good question, Thad. I would say this. If Lauren Murphy has nothing for her in the first minute of the third round and she's just getting obliterated, then they should stop the fight. I think that a lot of times, if there's just no route to victory for a certain fighter, then it is a good time to stop the fight. And I think that that doesn't happen enough. And you could make a case for that in this one. Good question, Thad. Excellent question, actually. 4 minutes, 33 seconds left in the third round, third and final round. But shout out to these two chicks. A lot of times, I got to be honest, I'm not the biggest women's MMA fan. I think they still have a ways to go as far as their technical level, but you can't take anything away from these two chicks as they have really put it all out there. They both fought their hearts out, fought a real fight here. And this is real damage that Lauren Murphy is taking. And she has my respect for going out there and doing her thing. And, to take an ass beating and to still keep coming after the person and trying to win takes a special type of person. I mean, there are a lot of people that get finished in fights where they really just gave up, and it's clear that Lauren Murphy will fight a losing fight till the absolute end. A fight that many would even argue that she has no chance of winning. And now we see Jessica Andrade trying to go for some grappling of her own. Lauren, this might be a mistake as she was doing so well in the kickboxing department. Lauren Murphy has a kimura in the bottom of the half guard here, a classic example of the kimura. Jessica Andrade moves away, and if she was smart, she would keep the rest of this fight as a standing fight because that's where most of her success has been. I believe just from that exchange that Lauren Murphy has a superior ground game. It seems like Lauren Murphy would prefer to take the fight to the ground, but oof, some some rough strikes here from Jessica Andrade. This fight, I'd say this fight could be stopped. I would have no problems with this fight being stopped. I mean, Lauren Murphy's turning her back to her now and stuff. I appreciate a good fight. I like to see a good fight. I like to see, um, the violence. I'm a fan of violence. I'm a fan of carnage. I'm a fan of the UFC. But I'm not a fan of watching someone take a merciless beating. There's a point where it flips from a fight to a merciless beating, and this is nearing merciless beating. Let's see, Thad, you got any more inappropriate questions for me in the chat? No? Okay. Oh, snap. I'm looking to see over here too if my friend Mike is fighting right now. We got 14 seconds left in this third round here. Lauren Murphy still getting just pounded in the face. Jesus. And time. That's the end of the fight. Whew. Sheesh. Man, sometimes MMA is rough. Sometimes MMA is rough. The thrill and the agony, as they say. I mean, sometimes too, you see guys take or girls, they take such a serious beating that they're really never the same. Probably one of the best examples of that is Chris Weidman when he fought Luke Rockhold. That fight definitely could have been stopped, but Herb Dean let that fight go. And Chris Weidman was just never the same after that beating. Another example is Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. Man, Justin Gaethje just beat the crap out of Tony Ferguson. And, you saw Tony Ferguson really just not act like himself. And it's very sad. And he was just never the same after that fight. So you got to be careful with fights where one guy gets or girl gets fucking their shit beaten in so hard. So that's my 2 cents. And I say this as a big fan of violence. You can't find a person who loves a good fight more than me. You can't find a person who likes a good fight more than me. But you know, these are really people's lives that are happening here. I don't know what this said. I can't have the sound on, or YouTube will copyright me. But what I do know is, boy, do I have to take a friggin' piss, and I can't hold it anymore. It's just it's just what it is. So I will be right back, and I will see you guys in a second. All right. Okay. Whew, I got more viewers from me not being here and taking a piss than when I was here. That's pretty wild, I gotta say. Did they call it? Yes, the chick Jessica Andrade won, and she beat the crap out of the other girl. Complete unanimous decision. It wasn't a hard one for the judges. Ken Shaloy says, "Who is next?" That's a great question. UFC fights tonight. I believe it's Gilbert Burns, but I just wanted to make sure. Yes. Dad, do you remember Gilbert Burns, the guy who fought with Hamzat? And there was so much anticipation for that fight where, I mean, it was a really close fight with Hamzat and Gilbert, and they basically fought to the death. Ken Shalay says, yes, he is good. Yes, he is good. Joe Rogan did a thing on his podcast after watching that fight where he impersonates Gilbert Burns, where he's like, he's like, if you give me 6 weeks, I will fight the devil, like in his Brazilian accent, where Gilbert Burns will fucking fight anybody. Anybody. He doesn't give a fuck. And he's not going to be scared or intimidated by them. And it's it's kind of sad to me because they could have parlayed Gilbert Burns into being a huge star after that fight. Gilbert Burns has been more of a guy that's like a real fighter's fighter, where a lot of fighters, a lot of people who watched his career upcoming in jiu-jitsu are fans of him, but he never really had like a large fan base in the UFC. And it was really his breakout fight, even though it's like, 25 fights into his career. Um, this fight with Hamza, and they could have parlayed this into Gilbert Burns being a household name and a star, but he's really sort of quietly on this card, uh, you know, not a main event, not a co-main event. And it's sort of sad that he's not given the respect that I feel he deserves. In jiu-jitsu, Gilbert Burns had a great fight against Hickson Gracie's son, Crone Gracie, and um, basically Crone was a huge favorite going into the black belt division, being Hickson's son, and he was undefeated in all of his like lower belt matches, blue, purple, brown belt. Hickson's son Crone crushed everybody, all submissions, just was in a totally different league. But then when he got to the big leagues in the black belt division, he ran into Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns beat the crap out of Crone. And they have a iconic, great fight. And it's experience like that in fighting, Hickson's son in jiu-jitsu, where you just get a confidence to you that you're really not afraid or starstruck by anybody. And I always remember that match, and it kind of put Crone back to the drawing boards, as they say, to come back and win in jiu-jitsu competitions at the black belt level. But Gilbert Burns is no slouch, and I've been a fan of him for a very long time. Wow, I think that match was when he fought Crone was 2013 at the World Championships, which was 10 years ago now, which is crazy. I remember that match like it was just the other day. Right now they're showing Volkanovski. You know Volkanovski, right, Dad? Versus Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev won the championship at the 155-pound division, and he's basically Khabib's protege, and is, a lot of people say, like a new version of Khabib. And they both have insane records where they've won their last like 25 fights in a row, and they have like one loss. And the 155-pound champion Islam Makhachev is going to fight the 145-pound champion Alexander Volkanovski, and that should be a good fight as well. They're showing the promotion for that. Oh, and they're also showing Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3. Should be another phenomenal match. Kamaru Usman was the champion of the 170-pound division, and Leon Edwards had a crazy upset victory in the last minute of the last round, where he head kick KO'd Kamaru Usman. And they had also fought earlier in their careers. And so they're 1-1, and it will be the trilogy for the championship, which should be another great and amazing fight. I got to say, I am excited for the fights in 2023. First of all, we got Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, which should be a phenomenal fight coming up next after we watch Gilbert Burns, which is an amazing card. We got Gilbert Burns. We got Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo, those are two flyweights that have the best flyweight fights in the history of the flyweight division. And then there is Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill for the main event. And that's for the rest of the fights today. But we also have to look forward to John Jones coming back, which should be an unbelievably awesome, epic fight versus Cyril Gahn. And we got supposedly Conor McGregor coming back, supposedly. And that should be an epic fight. And there's one more. There's the Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. There's the Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. But there's one more that's a phenomenal fight. I mean, just those alone are great. I'm interested to see what Hamzat could do this year. There was some interactions online between Hamzat and Colby Covington, and I would love to see that fight. Oh yeah, there's also Israel Adesanya versus Poatan, Alex Poatan, where Israel Adesanya defended his belt like 6 times. And Dad Mandingo is gone from the UFC. Mandingo, they offered him $8 million to fight John Jones, and Mandingo said no, thank you. Mandingo's out of here. Boxing, he might fight Tyson Fury though in boxing, because they were like, do you want 80 million to fight Tyson Fury, or do you want 8 million to fight John Jones? And he's like, I'll take the 80 million. Not that that's official yet. There's no official fight where he's getting paid 80 million to fight Tyson Fury, but he's very interested in fighting boxing. Tyson Fury is already promoting the match, and he is cut from the UFC, where, of course, they could magically make him not cut from the UFC anymore, but he's a free agent. Ken Shalay says, I'd fight for 8 million. Would you fight John Jones for 8 million, though? I mean, how fast can you tap out? Can you tap out before he touches you? You need to go 1, 2, 3 tap outs before he throws a single punch. Can you tap out before John Jones kills you? I don't know. Genjale says yes, he can. He can tap out before John Jones gets to him. I love it. All right, we got this fight with Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. Now, Neil Magny, I've seen a bunch of Neil Magny's fights, and Neil Magny is one of these guys that's been in the UFC forever. He wins a lot. They're showing his stats here. He's got the most wins in UFC welterweight history, which is actually an insane stat with 20 wins, because I think that's even more wins than George St. Pierre. But the thing is, Neil Magny is always sort of floated at this, like, okay, you're just in the top 10 and you're not the best guy, you're not the worst guy, you're sort of a gatekeeper in a lot of ways, and he's got a lot of all-around skills, and what he does have is he has significant boxing. And a lot of times, if you just don't understand the basics of boxing, there's a certain number of positions that's like, okay, this guy has to do this and I have to do that. He has to do this, I have to do this. And if you're not able to play that dance in the boxing game, Neil Magny will sort of overtake you in the boxing. But he really just never catapulted himself to the height of the 170-pound division. And he just has sort of stayed at this, like, I mean, I don't want to say mediocre, being in the top 10 in the world in your weight class and having the most wins in the history of the division is significant. But he's just got this sort of all around type feel with good boxing and just hasn't overly impressed me. Now, he's fighting Gilbert Burns, who is an extremely technical fighter. He's ranked number 5. Um, it's interesting. It says he's got the third most armbar submissions in UFC history, which is kind of interesting. Uh, Gilbert Burns has top of the food chain Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. He's Brazilian, and he trains striking with Henry Hooft, who is a famous Dutch kickboxing instructor who is known for having a very simplistic style of striking that is very, very effective. It's interesting too. Certain parts of the world are more well known for certain martial arts. For example, Brazil is known for their Brazilians and their expertise in jiu-jitsu. Um, but the Dutch and the English are known for their kickboxing skills. A lot of times, people joke around about how the jiu-jitsu in that part of the world is horrible, and that if you're fighting a guy from over there, you're probably going to do pretty well. Um, and there's certain sort of stereotypes based on where people are in the world, and that guy Henry Hooft is definitely an example of a guy who has a lot of knowledge in the Dutch kickboxing area because that's where he's from. America is known for having a lot of wrestlers, as we have wrestling in our school system, and therefore we have a great wrestling program and pedigree. Dagestan, where Khabib is from, is also known for their wrestling. So it's interesting, you know, where a lot of times the location of where the fighter is from tells you a bit about what their skills might be from the people that they train with and the influences that they have around them. Ken Shalay says, short fight. Yes, I think I got Gilbert Burns. My money's on Gilbert Burns in this one. He just looks super confident. He looks like he's just going to destroy Neil Magny. If I had any criticism of how Gilbert Burns looks right now, he looks too confident and too relaxed. But I'm sure this is in a lot of ways like a cakewalk after fighting Hamza. They got this guy Fernando Portela, who's a referee, and I've literally never seen him ref a fight before in my life. It's interesting. Usually on these big time events, they have a reputable referee. One thing it does appear though is that Neil Magny definitely has a lot of length and reach. And when you are a good boxer, you could definitely take advantage of and use that reach. So far, we are 20 seconds into the first round here, and nobody has thrown a single strike. Neil Magny opens up with a couple round kicks. They do not look very scary or intimidating whatsoever. And it's interesting, too. Oof. Gilbert Burns lands a mean round kick. It's interesting, too. There is this idea in fighting a lot of times where Uh, it's a lot like the animal kingdom where, if you see a bear, you're supposed to like, pretend that you're big and show that you're really big and strong. There's a lot of that like posturing actually in fights, and you can see the way Neil Magny's looking. He's trying to make himself look big. He's trying to make himself look uh, like he's hard to deal with, and this is actually a part of fighting, which is again often not talked about. But if you've, trained martial arts all of your life, oh my gosh, big takedown from Gilbert Burns. Huge body lock takedown. Got to the double underhooks and really sort of suplexed Neil Magny here. And phew, you could just see Gilbert Burns, his incredible jiu-jitsu skills go to work here, where he ends up in the top of the half guard and just the way he goes, he controls the hips. He moves from the hips to the head. He switches his base. Each leg is doing something productive, and he has a certain pressure to him that's really hard to deal with. And here he goes. Now he passes the guard of Neil Magny and is just sort of ahead of him here. Neil Magny's looking like he's going to try to get up to his feet. And with Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu skills, it will probably be countered in a difficult way. Gilbert Burns having an interesting side control variation where he's holding up the leg and holding up the head, where a lot of MMA grappling is really just preventing the guy from standing back up and making this into a standing fight. And sometimes it's actually smart to do a technique called backtracking, where you move back into the guard, but really it's just a way of making sure the guy's legs stay pinned down to the floor, even though you're not as high up in your positional hierarchy. And it's really just to keep the guy flat and unable to use his legs to help him get back up. And you see Neil Magny sort of do this, go side to side, and then immediately pass the guard again, which is the sign of high level grappling understanding. And Gilbert Burns moves right into the mount here. 1 minute, 21 seconds left in this first round. It looks like Gilbert Burns was thinking about triangling for a second. And you see also in the mount here, Gilbert Burns, pay attention to his foot positioning, where his feet are underneath the back of Neil Magny. And what this does is, it looks like Gilbert Burns setting up a head and arm choke, and this could be it here. Yeah, it looks like this fight's over. Yep, he taps. It's over. It's over. Beautiful head and arm choke from Gilbert Burns, and that's all she wrote. Ken Shaloya correct once again in predicting that this was a short fight. Gilbert Burns gets a head and arm choke victory. Gilbert Burns has this thing going on with this cut man where Thaddeus Harvey says Gilbert Burns is the man. Yes, Gilbert Burns definitely is the man. I'm a big fan of Gilbert Burns, and that was classic, beautiful jiu-jitsu on display. A couple things I'd like to say about that finish too. They're going to show it here again. Oh, and they showed beautiful how he moves in with the two, and then he uses it as an opportunity to get double underhooks and a beautiful takedown because of it. And also here, beautiful work where Gilbert Burns was passing the butterfly half guard. And the thing about having a butterfly half guard is one of your legs is used as a hook, a butterfly hook in the half guard. And it can be countered by stepping over that hook into the mount. If the leg is on the outside, like in a closed guard, it really prevents you from being able to step over it. But when you have a butterfly hook, you can step over to the mount. Thad says, "Do you think these Brazilian fighters fighting Brazil gives them extra power?" Then he says, "In Brazil, do you think these Brazilian fighters fighting in Brazil gives them extra power?" Thad, that's an interesting question. I think it depends on the particular fighter itself. Just from what I know about Brazilians and Brazilian culture, being around Brazilians for the last 15 years training jiu-jitsu, is that they are very emotional people. And if they have the wherewithal to not be overwhelmed by fighting in their hometown or fighting in Brazil, then I think it can be a good thing. But I'd say it really depends on the person. But in general, if I had to pick in general a gun to my head, I would say that since they are such a passionate culture, since they are um, such a emotional culture, that being in the environment of Brazil, if you hear a Brazilian crowd, they're shouting "Va a mulher, va a mulher," which means "off with their head, off with his head," and they usually chant that to the guy who's fighting against the Brazilian. So I think a lot of times Brazilians, get a lot of passion and enthusiasm from fighting in their hometown if they are experienced enough to not let it overwhelm them. So, in general, I would say yes, fighting in Brazil does give them extra power. Now, getting back to this Gilbert Burns finish, a lot of times when you're passing that butterfly half guard, Hodger Gracie showed a couple beautiful examples of this while he was competing, where he would step over into the mount. Also, another guy who showed beautiful examples of this was BJ Penn, where when he would pass the half guard, he would step over the hook into the mount. And it's sort of an unconventional pass in a sense, but in my opinion, it's one of the very best ways to pass the half guard. If you could use your other leg and grapevine, which means, hook around the bottom leg of their half guard, the one that isn't the butterfly hook, then you anchor yourself to them in a way where it makes stepping over the hook much easier. Additionally, when you saw Gilbert Burns achieve the mounted position, he put his feet in such a way where his feet were underneath the back and underneath the hips of Neil Magny. And this really takes away the number one escape option, which is the elbow escape, from being possible, because you would need to change the body orientation to even start that escape. So you saw a high level mount there from Gilbert Burns when he got on Neil Magny, and that's one of the signs too, especially like uh, there's a lot of nuance to the position, and if you're just trying to go for the escape right away, when you're not solving the problem of how the person is preventing you from doing the escape, you can see through the nuance of the positioning that the person doesn't sort of have the understanding of how to um, solve the problems that they are currently coming into contact with. And that's how fighters who are advanced in jiu-jitsu can sort of see and tell what's going on by the small nuances of the positioning. Also, the head and arm choke is a very interesting topic for debate, where it has recently changed a lot in the jiu-jitsu community, as I would say the awareness of the defense of the head and arm choke has continued to improve. So many different variations and methodologies of finishing the head and arm choke also had to evolve with the evolving defense. It was an interesting finish where usually you want to clear yourself from the guy's legs and hips completely. And the way that I was traditionally taught the head and arm choke 10 years ago was that you want to be at this kind of perpendicular angle, your body position like this when you were applying it. But a lot of times now, you see it done at different angles where you are not completely like disconnected at the legs of your opponent, where you can use the cross face and the half guard as a way of interweaving your way into finishing the head and arm choke. And sort of that updated finishing idea of the head and arm choke was done here by Gilbert Burns on top of the black belt level mount with his legs hooked underneath the body. So beautiful, beautiful stuff there from Gilbert Burns. I'm a fan, and we got a great fight coming up next with Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, which I am pumped for. Anyone got any more questions? Because I'm sure they're going to take a lot of time for commercials between these next two fights. Also, Brandon Moreno did one of the old school, great classic methods of finishing the rear naked choke on Davison Figueiredo. I'm sure they're going to show it on replay here as a hype and anticipation for the fight, where Brandon Moreno had rear naked choke on Figueiredo. I have this in my submission land instructional. In fact, I show 14 different ways to finish the rear naked choke. Not in actual techniques. I show about 5 different ways to finish the rear naked choke itself, but I show 14 different strategies of how you actually get to the final one of those final finishing positions. And one of the secret black belt ways to get to the rear naked choke that I explain in extreme detail is the one that Brandon Moreno used here against Davison Figueiredo, and I believe their second fight, I want to say. Yeah, in their second fight. And that is, you lock up the rear naked choke, right? And you're squeezing. And you do a one arm rear naked choke, which actually is still very powerful. I mean, it's more powerful if you go two hands on the rear naked choke, but you hold on, Dad. I'll answer that question 1 second. You start choking him with one arm, and then you put the other arm on your bicep and you put the hand on the head. And the traditional way to defend the rear naked choke is you take the hand off your head. So Davison Figueiredo takes the hand off his head, 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 and the squeeze is slightly different from the one arm to the two arm, but all the while you are squeezing with the one arm rear naked choke. So the idea is you're actually finishing a one arm rear naked choke that's disguised as a two arm rear naked choke. And you make the guy believe it's a two arm rear naked choke by incorrectly putting your hand on the head and having him fight uh, the hand on the head over and over and over again, when actually you're still secretly enacting the rear naked choke the whole time. This is something that I've seen Damian Maya do in his fights, and it's something that Brandon Moreno utilized beautifully against Davison Figueiredo in their second fight. And it's a phenomenal, tricky method to get that rear naked choke victory. Ken Shaloi says, "Is Hamzat scheduled in 2023?" Well, the deal with Hamzat is he had 4 different fights that were said to be happening or were about to happen, or uh, some guy signed, some guy didn't sign, and then they said, "You know what? I'm not fighting this guy," and none of the fights ended up working out and going through. So, a lot of people are scared of this guy, and rightfully so, and a lot of people don't want to fight him. So there's been 4 attempts to get Hamzat a fight, and they've all fallen through because they don't want to be his next victim. So is Hamzat scheduled for 2023? I guess the answer is I don't know. He had 4 fights that were in the works, fell through, in the works, fell through, in the works, fell through, and in the works and fell through. And they got to get someone to sign on the dotted line to actually fight the guy. So I hope that answers your question. I hate to do it to you guys, but I had 8 viewers last time when I took a piss, and let's see if I could take a piss and then come back and have there be more viewers again. All right. I want crazy viewers. Let's see. Whew. All right. Still got the same 3. Damn it. All right. I'm really excited. We got Brandon Moreno coming out for this fight. Let's see what's going on. Thad said back in the women's fight, "I worry about these straight chicks in MMA. They don't understand the art of skullduggery." Wow. Sorry if you're still watching, Thad. All right. Ken Shaloya says, "Did Dana White win the slap fight?" Well, that's a funny question. Dana White got in trouble for slapping his wife. And at the same time, he is trying to start a company, a sister company to the UFC called Power Slap, where he bought the crazy event where people slap each other for round after round. And that's some pretty bad timing. He has been, crucified in the news. I mean, everyone that doesn't like Dana White, which is a lot of people, have come after him and said bad things about him. And he's dealt with it really, really well. Um, a lot of the press are saying, what kind of punishment should you, receive or get for this thing? And his response was, if you suspend me or if you take me out of this event or organization, it literally only hurts the fighters. It only hurts the employees, the staff, and everybody else. And I've already done enough to hurt the fighters, employees, and staff with this display of um, foolishness. Like, if I get suspended, it only makes things worse for people. So he was like, I don't think that that's the that that's a good punishment for me. And then he asks the press, he goes, well, then what should be my punishment? And all the press are like, we don't know. So I think he's done a good job of handling it in the press well. Ken Shalay says she slapped him first. Yes, a major part of this is Dana White's wife slapped him first, and then he slapped her back. And there's an element there where that's sort of fair. But I gotta give respect to Dana White has not said once, and even the media tried to throw him a curveball that um, she slapped him first. That he said, "My actions are unacceptable. A man should never hit a woman, and I don't want anyone to come to my rescue or defend me or." Uh, I was completely in the wrong, and you should never hit a woman. And in a way, he took that one like a man. He did not, uh, you know, try to placate at all. Not a single time, not an inkling that he got slapped first by her. So it's fair that she got slapped back, which is true, which I believe is true. But I also respect that he took the high road and admitted his wrongdoing in that situation as well. So I thought that that was kind of interesting, and um, that's that, I guess. If you guys got any more questions, please throw it in the comments. We got 4 viewers. Please, if you're watching, throw something in the comment section. I'd love to converse with you, chat with you. If you've got any questions, I'd happily answer it. I love when people engage with the stream. All right, this should be a fascinating fight. I have never seen a situation where this is the 4th time that these guys have fought. And each time it is extremely compelling. Each time it's like both of these guys were born to fight each other. And we're in a situation here where Brandon Moreno, I believe, is the superior fighter, the more technical fighter, and Davison Figueiredo is the stronger fighter and the more durable fighter. The tail of the tape: Davison Figueiredo is 35, Brandon Moreno is 29. Figueiredo 5'5", Brandon Moreno 5'7". This is the 125-pound flyweight class. Davison Figueiredo has a 68-inch reach, and Brandon Moreno has a 70-inch reach. And I know what you're thinking, 125 pounds, my fucking ass cheek weighs 125 pounds. And, a lot of times the flyweight guys don't get a lot of respect, but these guys, Dad, I'm telling you, these guys fought each other to the death time and time and time again. They're they're one of these fights that after the fight is over, every time after the fight is over, you want to stand up and give a standing ovation because the fight was that good. So it only makes sense that they're here fighting a fourth time. The story of the four fights is Davison Figueiredo was the champion originally. They fought a extremely compelling fight where nobody could tell who won, and they fought to a draw. The next time, Brandon Moreno came in and fought him and beat him with the rear naked choke victory, I believe, in the third round. Then the third time they fought, Davison Figueiredo came back, had a superior strategy, strategized with Henry Cejudo, and came back and won his title back again. And then here they are fighting for the fourth time. So first time was a draw. Second time, Brandon Moreno won. Third time, Davison Figueiredo won. And we're here on the fourth fight to finally put an end to this chapter. And this one is for all the friggin' marbles. This has an interesting hype to it because this fight has more than yeah, just exactly. Henry Cejudo saying this is special, this is history. The quadrilogy is upon us. I guess is that what it's called? I was trying to think what is it called when it's four fights. Um, I guess it's the quadrilogy. But in a way, this fight is the winner of who is the better fighter out of all of their fights. They've been fighting for years now. And we begin round one. Let's see. Both guys coming out in the orthodox stance here. Man, I'm excited for this one. So far, Davison Figueiredo gets taken down in the first couple seconds of the first round, goes in for some really strong power shots. And Brandon Moreno comes in, has a great double leg with a leg trip involved in the double leg. And Moreno locks up a guillotine, and they are in the top of the half guard in this situation. Now, this is not a great place to finish the guillotine. Davison Figueiredo has a head and arm guillotine, and if Figueiredo can free his left arm, which he's trying to do, he can transfer this into a Von Flute choke if he takes his arm out and puts it in as a crossface, which is a submission that is a counter to the guillotine. A lot of times in the half guard, your legs just aren't in the correct leg orientation that you need when you want to finish the guillotine. They both scramble back up to their feet here, and we got 3 minutes 35 seconds left in the first round. This is going to be a 5-round fight. If there isn't a finish, both guys possess the ability, I believe, to finish each other, and both are heavily skilled. I believe Brandon Moreno has the grappling advantage, and Figueiredo has the power advantage for sure. But man, they're both really good at striking. You could see though Moreno doesn't necessarily want um, to get hit. And Figueiredo is doing a good job at picking his punches, picking his strikes. There was a couple people who asked me about this fight, and I felt that if they really just went out there and fought, that Brandon Moreno would win. But if Figueiredo can be patient, pick his shots, choose his openings, and to really keep this fight on his terms, then I think that he's got a good chance of victory too. Like in a way, Brandon Moreno needs the fight, needs there to be a fight. But Figueiredo almost needs it to be more of a match. to win, which is so odd too because usually with the certain skill sets that they possess, it's usually like the other way around in in that kind of way. Brandon Moreno in the center of the octagon with a double underhook clinch and looks to elbow off the clinch. A huge part of modern MMA is elbowing off the clinch. You see it as a very, very common thing. You almost have to expect the elbow off the clinch nowadays. There's almost always a disengagement with an elbow. 1 minute 16 seconds left here in the first round. Brandon Moreno with a leg kick, Davison Figueiredo with a clinch. Both guys scramble out of it. Moreno with a nice uppercut straight combination, or more like an uppercut overhand. 51 seconds left in the first round. And Brandon Moreno with a beautiful double leg takedown. Beautiful stuff here. Kind of really putting a stamp on the fact that he's winning this round. Davison Figueiredo looks to enter into the legs. Davison Figueiredo looking for a heel hook here. Ooh, this is tight. This is a tight heel hook. This is tight. Oh, okay. Brandon Moreno seems to have defended it, but now the legs are at a very strange angle. Oof. Yikes, that heel hook looks scary there for a second. Oh, but it looks like Davison Figueiredo kicked Brandon Moreno in the head while they were on the ground, and Brandon Moreno complained to the ref in the middle of it. Interesting stuff. I wonder if everything is completely fine with Brandon Moreno's knee in that heel hook, from that heel hook. I think everything is fine, but the leg was just at a very weird angle at one point. They're showing now. Oh man, Davison Figueroa, throwing an axe kick in the middle of this leg lock exchange, and Brandon Moreno complaining to the ref here. It looks like too there will be a, not necessarily a cut, but a big golf ball. I don't know why the term for that is right on the tip of my tongue. I can't seem to remember it, but a mouse above his eye. They're back here in round two. Man, these guys move so fast at the 125-pound division. And Brandon Moreno looks for a round kick. Davison Figueiredo catches it and takes him to the ground. It's interesting too, like the exchange rate of these positions are so different than other weight classes. I would have to give the first round to Moreno, though, which is a good sign for Moreno because Davison Figueiredo is known for having a strong start in his fights. Oh, beautiful stuff here too. Brandon Moreno gets to a single leg position, uses it to heist up to his feet to get back to the standing position here. After a kick that he threw got caught and got him taken down, but it's interesting. Like with the lower weight classes, there's just more happening in the fight, especially with these guys where, there's more takedowns, there's more positions exchanged just by the nature of their weight. 2 minutes 30 seconds left in this second round here. Brandon Moreno on a beautiful takedown, but Davison Figueroa comes up on an underhook um, into a beautiful tripod sweep here. But Figueroa has a nice guillotine with a closed guard here on Brandon Moreno. I doubt he will finish it, but I would not like to be in that guillotine right now. Brandon Moreno escapes. Figueroa putting his hands in the fence, which is a cheating tactic, which shows that he's been cheating by throwing a kick on a grounded opponent, and he's been cheating by grabbing the fence in this fight. One minute 10 seconds left in this second round. Brandon Moreno just digging his head into Davison Figueroa's face in the closed guard here. Brandon Moreno looking to do some body lock passing. Davison Figueroa gets his closed guard back. And Brandon Moreno is using a tactic where he is pushing Figueroa's head up against the cage. And when you've immobilized one major center of the spine, in this case the head, it is difficult to be able to move your hips to be effective in the closed guard, which it is what's happening here. Brandon Moreno keeps throwing these aggressive elbows in the closed guard, and he should be careful throwing those techniques. They're showing some of the replays from the action in the round. Very exciting round. Again, hard to score. Beautiful tripod sweep um, from Brandon Moreno. Tripod sweep is such a great sweep. Really a timeless sweep. Effective in all forms of combat, in all arts. And just looking at the body language of what we see on the stool, Davison Figueroa did not look so enthused about what's going on, and Brandon Moreno is rearing, ready to go. We're 15 seconds into round 3 here. Whew. The tension in this fight is palpable. Both guys are such seasoned fighters where they're not falling for any tricks from the other guy. Moreno fought an interim championship fight in the middle of one of these 4 fights that they've had, where he basically knocked a guy out with a body shot, and figured out I was trying to do the same thing to Moreno here, but Moreno, laughs it off as you know You're trying to take my move. But well, the one thing I would say about Moreno is he seems to be taking himself. Oh man, um, Davison Figueroa saying that he got poked in the eye, and he closes his eyes and looks for the ref, and Moreno just jumps on top of him here. Figueroa pulls close guard on the bottom of the fight here. This is a bad sign. This is also a sign too if things aren't going your way, if you start to be, mentally fatigued and the body language looks bad, um, things like this start to accumulate, build up, and continue to not go your way. You're looking for ways out. You're looking for help from the ref. You're looking for something when it can feel like you're drowning against a guy that is beating you, and that's what's happening here with Brandon Moreno. But I was saying something else before that crazy event, but I forgot. Whew, got a whole zero. Oh, we got one viewer. And Brandon Moreno on top, raining down some really intense ground and pound. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Brandon Moreno really taking himself out of position to be able to get the strikes off and throw what he needs to throw and do what he needs to do here. And if I was Davison Figueroa's corner, I would be looking to try to take advantage of that and whisper in Figueroa's ear. So that's happening. 1 minute 41 seconds left here in the third round. And it looks like both of these guys are taking a bit of a break. Brandon Moreno raining down some ground and pound. And it looks to me like Davison Figueroa sort of clipped Moreno with an axe kick there, and Moreno just playing it off like nothing happened and just goes back into the close guard and takes a second to compose himself. I could be wrong, but that's what that looked like to me. Both guys have really expended a lot of energy here, and the pace of the fight has slowed down. 45 seconds left here. They're showing on the replay. Yeah, it looks like Davison Figueroa got punched in the eye, not um, finger poked in the eye. Oof! And Brennan Moreno essentially uses his ground and pound to pass the guard here. But gets a little sloppy with his positioning here. Each arm that you have, he's in a top side control, sort of, um, does its job in holding down the person. Yeah, they're showing the punch here, and it was definitely a knuckle or a glove in the eye, which is legal, not a finger in the eye. Although, it was sort of like one of these like side on punches. And maybe it was the knuckle of the thumb if you want to really be a Figueroa fan. But I think it was a legal strike and a punch to the eye. But that eye looks compromised where it doesn't look like you could really open it. It would be a shame if they stopped the fight. It looks like they're going to stop the fight. Oh no, the doctor is in here from this eye poke, where it looks like Figueroa's just completely shut his eye. Oh no, this would be terrible. Generally, they stop the fight if you can't see out of your eye at all. And you want, oh, they stopped the fight. Oh no. Oh no. Ay, ay, ay. Oh man. You know, in this fight, there's been so many fights that they've had. And you want a conclusive end to the quadrilogy. You want someone to be finished. You want the person who deserves to win. You don't want it stopped over basically an eye poke, you know? I mean, was the strike legal? Was it not legal? It's hard to say. They're showing it again. They're showing it from every angle now. Oh, it's so hard to say. But also, you know, Thad says, does there need to be a fifth fight? You know, I don't mind watching these guys fight over and over and over and over again. But here's what I think should happen. I think Brandon Moreno should be the champ. He should remain the champ for, you know, for a long time. And he should defend his belt. He should fight other people. And down the line, um, maybe they match them up depending on where they are in their careers and everything for a potential fifth fight. But man, that is a anticlimactic end to this quadrilogy. Oh man. Yeah, they have it as winner by doctor stoppage too. Yikes. All right, I gotta hear. I gotta hear what DC asks them.
I'm here with Brandon Moreno. Brandon, how good does it feel to put this chapter behind you?
Man, we taught each other in 5 weeks. This for me is very hard. I understand the people, man. Definitely understand the people. But the people need to understand. I'm just like I was trying to get food for his family. And that's it.
Cara, nós passamos a semana inteira se encontrando. Isso aqui significa tudo para mim.
Man, the booze from the crowd, the raining down of booze is crazy.
You were up 3 rounds to 0. You were putting it on Davison Figueiredo. You landed. Look up here, that left hook. And he protested like you caught him in the eye. But it was absolutely legal. The left hook hurt him right here. You were cruising. Was this what you expected in this fight?
Man, I was trying to be very, very smart. I was trying to put a lot of my game plan in this fight. In the last one, I was so emotional, and this one I was trying just to put a lot of pressure, move forward, make this guy tired, and that's it.
Eu estava tentando lutar muito inteligente, eu queria colocar pressão e terminar a luta.
The hook to the eye.
Brandon Moreno, you are now able to put this Davison Figueiredo chapter behind you.
DC is trying to, end it. That this is it for.
What does it mean to you to represent your great country of Mexico and win?
You're gonna put this behind you.
Carry yourself as a champion in the way that you do.
But man, the crowd is literally boo, boo.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the champion, Brandon Moreno.
Man, It's crazy. The energy of the crowd kind of says it
I'm
all.
here with Davison Figueiredo. Davison,
Wow, the
it
crowd's
felt
cheering
like
for
you were a
Figueroa.
little behind Brandon today. What was different about his approach outside of the wrestling?
Parece que ele estava te deixando um pouco para trás hoje. Qual que era a intenção ali? Qual que era a sua abordagem? Vamos vocês, galera. Infelizmente, chegou a hora de sair dessa categoria. Já fiz o meu máximo aqui, já representei 5-7. É o momento do Breno, o cara tá de parabéns. Mas a categoria 61 me espera, eu tô subindo. Eu tô chegando, galera. Unfortunately, it's time to leave this division. I've done a lot. Congratulations to Brandon, but I'm moving up.
Davison, what surprised you in the fight tonight? And what about the cut? Brandon landed a left hand on that eye. You protested immediately, but it looked like the punch was legal. What are you thinking when that lands? Did you think it was an illegal shot?
O que te surpreendeu nessa noite? E fala sobre esse corte. Você protestou ali, mas olhando no replay parecia que foi um golpe legal. Cara, hoje foi a noite do Breno. Eu não posso falar que foi dedo no olho, irmão. Eu tomei o golpe, infelizmente fechou meu olho. Eu não sei, eu acho que teve alguma lesão séria. Cara, Deus me proteja. Eu espero que eu não tenha perdido a vista, irmão. Mas obrigado pelo carinho do público. Hoje não foi meu dia, foi o dia do Breno. Gente, eu volto a falar mais uma vez. Eu lutei hoje representando os jovens do Brasil que sonham em chegar aqui dentro e ser dono do cinturão. Nunca desista do seu sonho, cara. Nunca desista. Eu construí minha história aqui dentro. Como José Aldo, cara, sou teu fã, irmão. Sou teu fã, máximo respeito. Eu construí minha história nessa categoria, mas eu vou subir para 61. Já cansei de bater 5-7. Eu fico feio pra caralho. You know, it was Brandon's night. I felt the eye poke. I thought it was an eye poke, but there's not much I can say. Hopefully, I don't have any lasting problems with my eyes. But I've done a lot. I fight for everyone that has a dream to be here, but I'm tired of making this weight. That's why I'm moving up. And I have a lot of heroes in Jose Aldo, who's here tonight. You know, this is what I fight for, to show everyone you can make it.
Well, you are a tremendous flyweight, and I imagine you'll be a great bantamweight. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the former champion, Davison Figueiredo.
Classily handled in defeat by Davison Figueiredo, and that was the expectation
All
that
right.
he would move up to 135 pounds.
Well, at least the hey, we had some viewers. I don't know how that happened. I stopped commentating and the viewers started pouring in. Shit. Oh man. Wow. They are throwing things at Davison Figueroa. They had to have a security team guard him as they were throwing things at him on his way out of the arena. Where the hell are they? Is this in Brazil? If this is in Brazil, that makes sense. Caleb is in the chat talking about wrestling nonsense. You know, it's interesting to hear wrestlers talk. Like if you hear DC, a lot of times DC has, you know, had a lot of criticism about his commentary because he sees everything as wrestling. I mean, granted, there is a lot of wrestling in the foundation of MMA, but you know, not everything's wrestling, dude. There's been like jujitsu type positions where DC's like, oh, he's wrestling with his legs. Anyway. Hey Siri, is UFC 83 in Brazil? Yeah, it's in Rio de Janeiro. That makes sense. That makes sense why they were throwing things at Brandon Moreno. That's rough. That's rough. Those Brazilian people are wild, wild people, man. Very passionate, very emotional, a lot of pride coming out of Brazil. I have trained jiu-jitsu for so many years and been around so many Brazilians. I have a love-hate relationship with Brazilians. Caleb said, Ryan, what's the play next? The play next is we got Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill. What do you mean, what's the play next? Moreno just won me stem cells. Are you gonna finally get that neck fixed? I'm glad. I'm glad he won you some stem cells. I didn't know they had that on DraftKings. Caleb says LOOOL. Love it. Love it. Love you, Caleb. Thank you for the commentary. How long have you been watching, my man? Why only comment now, 2 hours into the stream? Glover or Hill? That's an interesting question. Have you placed your bets yet, Caleb? Have you lost your stem cell money yet on this one? No, he hasn't. So he's waiting for my prediction to win him some money. You know, Caleb, he says I'm ready to lose and then blame you. Love that. Thank you for that, Caleb. You know, you're putting me in a tough spot here. I'm currently undefeated in my predictions that I've made on YouTube. Every single prediction I've made has been correct. So, you know, I take what I say here pretty seriously. If you go back, I sometimes make the predictions in a YouTube short before the fights, or sometimes in the live stream like this. But I don't want to give the prediction on this one. The wild card is that they are in Brazil, and a lot of times these Brazilian judges can be paid off. I mean, I've been really, really impressed by Jamal Hill's come up in the UFC, and he's really fought tough, tough guys. He's fought Jeremy Walker, who we watched earlier tonight, 5 fights ago, I think it was, and knocked him out brutally. And yep, they're showing or Johnny Walker, not Jeremy Walker. And he fought he fought the guy with the giant hammer on his chest. I forget his name, but that is a tough fight. And he won that fight clearly. Clearly has a high fight IQ. Santos, thank you, Caleb. Um, Jamal Hill clearly has a high fight IQ, and you know, I could almost see this fight going the distance, and you never know with these Brazilian judges. I think the Brazilian judges are the most corrupt out of any judge I've ever seen, especially when there's Brazilian fighters. So it really makes this a wild card. I think Jamal Hill will have a great strategy in this fight, playing on the fact that Glover Teixeira is 43, which is very old for MMA. And I believe that his fight IQ will shine fighting an old fighter. However, another big wild card in this one is that Glover Teixeira has excellent, excellent jiu-jitsu, and I really haven't seen an example of Jamal Hill put in grappling situations. So it's really hard to gauge Jamal Hill's skill set comparatively to Glover Teixeira's skill set. So it's really a tough one to call. Caleb, I will say this. Caleb says, "Wow, I love a small play on going the distance, and Glover and or Hill to win by decision. Huge odds on all of that. Plus 405 to go the distance. Kind of unexpected. Could see it, right?" I mean, I was going to say something like I could either see this going completely one sided, one way or the other, or this being a 5 round fight, which I know is like virtually all of the options that can happen anyway, but there is like some logic to that as well. Um, yeah, this one's really hard to say. Big question marks on this one, man. Yeah, Caleb says it's a tough fight to call. That's what I'm saying, Caleb. I agree. Yeah, it could see so many outcomes. Yeah, it really could. Especially too the last fight with Glover and Yuri Prohaska. Yuri Prohaska won by rear naked choke victory in the last round, in the last like 20 seconds of the last round. I mean, if you bet on that, you would be rich. Because no one thought that that was going to happen. The odds for Glover Teixeira to lose by submission to Yuri Prohaska was nothing. And also, I think when you're betting, it's never a great idea to bet on fighters who are older because they're just not as reliable. It's like betting on a race car that has, 300,000 miles. Like the reliability of that car is just in question. There's so many factors of things that could go wrong with that car. And it's really hard to say. But man, Jamal Hill's rise to the top of the division here, he's fought these fights so smart. I mean, if he could fight this fight as smart as he's fought his other fights, I could see him breezing through Glover Teixeira and becoming champion right here. And then I could also see Glover Teixeira putting him in a jiu-jitsu situation that he's just not as experienced in, and Glover Teixeira just blowing through him with superior grappling. So, really hard to say. Didn't Paul Craig snap Hill's arm? Not that I know of. The first time I've ever seen Paul Craig fight was, I believe, tonight. So, I don't know. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of Jamal Hill's fights. I don't know. He has only sort of come on my radar his last like 2 or 3 fights. But he executed brilliantly. A while ago, yes, but he broke his arm and TKO'd him. Makes me nervous about submission, but he's grown from that. Yeah. As you know, Caleb, it's hard to make up the grappling as it is the longest skill to learn. It's a bit easier to make up on the striking. Was the broken arm from a submission, Caleb? Do you know? Caleb says absolutely. Caleb says it was. It was a submission. Do you know what submission it was? Was it a armbar or something? It was a funky submission. It happened quick. I don't know about all those funky submissions, Caleb. Caleb might be teaching some of those funky submissions in his wrestling class. Caleb says LOL. Shout out to Caleb. Thanks, Caleb, for being part of the stream. Much love and respect to you, and appreciate so much you commentating and engaging with the stream, commenting rather, and engaging with the stream. I'd love to see Glover Teixeira win here. I think that would be awesome. He was champion for a brief moment, and it would be awesome to see him become champion again and really sort of cement himself here. One thing I would also say is it's really intimidating to fight in Brazil. I mean, you got Brazilian fans that you don't know if they're going to kill you. They were throwing stuff at Brandon Moreno as he left the octagon last time. They're making chants, off with his head, off with his head. And Glover Teixeira looks way more relaxed, and he's been in this situation before. The tail of the tape is Glover Teixeira is 43, Jamal Hill's 31. Glover's 6'2", Jamal Hill's 6'4". Glover weighed in at 205. Jamal Hill weighed in at 204 and a half. And Jamal Hill has a 3-inch reach advantage at a 79-inch reach to Teixeira's 76. You could just see, though, it's really important in these championship fights that Glover Teixeira looks like he's waiting for the bus. He's so calm and collected and cool in this championship fight, as he has experienced and been here many, many times. And this is the first time that Jamal Hill has been in a championship fight, and to have it in Brazil is extra worrisome. And even though Jamal Hill looks to be, semi calm right now, it looks like he's faking being loose, while Glover Teixeira looks actually loose. That's my assessment. What do you think, Caleb? What do you think, Ken Shaloya? What do you think, Dad? What do you think, Thad? The three or the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Caleb says, I agree completely. There you go. Caleb with the smartest advice I've ever heard in all of the time I've known him, agreeing with me. All right, Caleb says he doesn't look comfy. I agree. It's intimidating, man, to fight in Brazil with all the Brazilians chanting off with your head. It's intimidating. Glover Teixeira, when he fought Santos, the guy with the hammer on his chest, man, he just put him in a grappling masterclass from the start to the finish. After what Caleb says, after watching Paul Craig rip his arm off and beat him with it, and how Hill looks, Glover will be handing out a lesson tonight. Is it too late to make the bet, Caleb? What have you bet? What's the money on? Let me know. Live bet, hopefully. That doesn't tell me the answer I'm looking for. He says, I stayed away. I stayed away. All right. All right. Keep that stem cell money. This is a kind of an odd thing, but Jamal Hill's got a odd looking upper chest. He looks like he could be wearing a bra out there. Yeah, weird body for sure. All right, beginning of round one. Here we go. Glover Teixeira instantly feints in on the takedown. I like that. Get in the head of Jamal Hill instantly. Oh, Glover Teixeira in on a single leg here into the body lock. Excellent chain wrestling. Looking to step over the leg. Jamal Hill looking good, pummeling in for underhooks. A couple knees here. Glover not looking so good in that clinch though. Jamal Hill with a nice round kick. Interesting exchange there. Looked like Glover was making some headway on the takedowns, but Jamal Hill got into the underhooks at the right time. Another interesting exchange there. Jamal Hill committed pretty hard on one of those strikes, and Glover's entry was great, but his ability to finish was not as good. It looks like Glover is a little bit desperate for these takedowns, which is interesting to see from Glover. Glover has excellent striking. It's a shame you're not seeing him utilize more of it. There we go. Glover into the striking a little bit now. Glover in for a single to the double. A great option, sometimes it's hard to get to a double, is to start with a single, which is much more accessible, and then move to a double leg takedown. Use the strength of the single, and the strength of the single being the accessibility, and the strength of the double being the ability to finish it, is a great strategy. And Jamal Hill definitely winning the striking exchanges here. And Glover answers back with a stiff jab of his own. Oof. A couple nice uppercuts there from Jamal Hill. Glover recognizes that he needs to get his head off of the center line and started throwing with a couple of his punches with his head off the center line. Jamal Hill looking to use a strategy similar to Alexander Gustafsson, it looks like, when Gustafsson knocked out Glover. Glover moving his head a little bit more, which is good to see. And then Jamal Hill switching it up and starting to throw kicks now. As Glover makes his adjustments, Jamal also makes his adjustments. Good stuff. Nice high-level technical exchange happening. There seems to be a switch here. Oh, Glover's not looking so good here. Maybe there was an eye poke. The eye pokes tonight. They're showing it on the replay. Yep, that was a legitimate eye poke. Glover tries a single leg here. Defended. Jamal Hill really seeming to win the striking exchanges here. Jamal Hill really smart with his fight IQ. Seems to be the strongest aspect of his game. And really having a lot of composure in this fight, whereas Glover's last fights have been a lot of chaos. And Hill really kind of capitalizing and putting forth a smart strategy here. All right, that concludes round 1. Got to give that round to Jamal Hill. But you know, with these judges that are in Brazil, man, if the round's close, it's going to the Brazilian. But I don't think that round was really close. Caleb, give me your thoughts on the wrestling here. What could Glover be doing better to get some more wrestling off? Personally, I feel like Glover sort of showed his hands too early in the wrestling department, and is a little bit too desperate. Caleb says, I need to rewatch it for technical stuff, but that guy has awesome balance. Come on, Caleb, up your game and try to start seeing straight from all that alcohol you've been drinking. Sheesh. All right, round 2. Here we go. Caleb says, so just keep wearing on him. Caleb says, sober. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, then let me know some of the wrestling exchanges then, you MFer. Jamal coming out with a little bit more of a pace here in the second round. Caleb says, I'll watch harder. Watch harder, Caleb. Glover looks like he was now poked in the eye. This is the UFC card of getting poked in the eye. Oh wait, no. Oh, it was a groin and the eye. A double whammy. A double whammy. A knee to the groin and a poke in the eye. Man, this is a tough night at the office for Glover, it looks like. I would like to see Glover push Jamal Hill up against the fence more. But the footwork here from Jamal Hill is oof. This might be it. Jamal Hill smelling. It looks like he's smelling a finish, and Glover's on deer legs here. Not good. Jamal Hill sticking against the fence. This is bad news for Glover. This is bad news. Jamal Hill sort of picking him apart here. Glover needs to get this fight to the ground. Oof. Big elbow from Jamal Hill. Glover's so tough, though. Glover with some big shots to answer. Up, Jamal Hill might have gassed himself out a little bit. Glover throws some big shots of his own. There's an interesting energy exchange, you know? If you try to finish a guy. Oh, another big head kick here from Jamal Hill. Jeez Louise. What a round so far. Jamal Hill, though, showing some serious skill in this fight. Glover in on a sing. Oh, Glover gets him to the floor. Wow. Jamal Hill trying to get back up, trying his best to get back up, posting his hands on the floor even. Oh, Glover moving into the mount now. This is good news for Glover. Looks like terrible defense for Jamal Hill. Oh my goodness. Jamal Hill trying to get back up to his feet. I can't even read what Caleb said. This fight's too exciting. Glover with some beautiful guard passing into the butterfly half guard here. Nice crossface and underhook. Potential head and arm choke danger. Jamal Hill sees it. Glover, though, allows an underhook here. Jamal Hill looking to get back up to the fence. Big welt on Jamal Hill's face. Looks like they're going to get back up to their feet here. Back in the standing position they go. Jamal Hill's got a big mouse under his eye. Big Superman punch from Jamal Hill. This is a fight. Whew. All right, what did Caleb say? Oh, another head kick. Jesus. Get the athlete tired. He's handing out a lesson. I can't read it, but that dog. Get the athlete tired. He's handing a lesson out in that dog. If you say so, Caleb. Oof. Glover goes in on a takedown, but defended again by Jamal Hill. Jeez. This was one of the best rounds I've ever seen in in any fight, really. 5 seconds left. Will we see a third round? And we will. Whew. Jeez. What a round. Oh. They're showing some replays of the head kicks. The head kicks from Jamal Hill. I mean, Glover's eating them like they're friggin' roast beef sandwiches here. If Glover can get him on the ground again, that's bad news for Jamal Hill. It's bad news. Okay, he knee pounded on the single. Knee pounded on the single. That was the technical. let me read Caleb's commentary here. Get the athlete tired. ... He's handing a lesson out in that dog. He knee pounded on the single. That was the technical. Right to a nice hands locked double. All right. We're here. Round 3. I guess it makes some sense. Jamal Hill back to the jabs. Glover in on a nice double here. I like this strategy of pushing Jamal Hill up against the fence. Glover has a great strategy where his single legs off the fence are excellent. Jamal Hill, though, reverses the situation and puts Glover on the fence. Caleb says Glover just got that dog in him. That's a fact. That's a fact. Up deeper waters, but that's why he got the takedown. He knee pounded. I'll have to watch that again and see what you mean, Caleb. Man, this is turning out to be a heck of a fight. I mean, Jamal Hill was just sort of picking him apart in the first round. Oof. Glover showing a little bit of wobbly legs again. Oh, Glover on his back. This doesn't look good. This looks very bad. This looks very bad for Glover. This might be it. Glover in on a single. Jamal Hill sprawling. Glover in the turtle position. Never a good situation when you're in the turtle position in a fight like this. 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Glover pulls guard. Jamal Hill with a couple nice punches over the top. Glover's bleeding bad. This might be it right here. Let's see if Glover could do something from his guard. This is a tough situation for Glover here. Jamal Hill doing a good job in only engaging with the guard when Glover's hurt in the grappling here. Being smart with his leg positioning. Jamal Hill lets him stand back up. 2 minutes, 5 seconds left in this round. Glover does got that dog in him. Has he recovered enough? We shall see. Oof. And a nice kick to the body from Jamal Hill. I mean, you really gotta, cook this turkey. You really gotta bake this cake to defeat Glover, man. This is not a straightforward process. You gotta really put a whole recipe, a whole formula together. Because Glover got that dog in him. Man, what a fight. Oof. Glover coming forward with some strikes now. Jamal Hill shaking his head, but that's usually a sign that that things aren't going well. When you go, oh no, that's fine. Nothing that you're doing is bothering me. Usually, it's very bothersome. 43 seconds left in this third round. Will we see a fourth round? Will we see a fourth round? My goodness, we might. Oof, some stiff jabs here from Glover. There's been this situation in the fight where it hasn't shifted Glover's way really completely, but it's gotten close. I mean, Glover took control for a little while in some of the grappling exchanges, but I wonder if we'll see this shift in the fight where Glover starts to take over. I don't know what happened. Is the round over? The UFC cameraman literally took the camera and just panned it away at a crucial moment. I guess it was the end of the round because they're patching Glover up to get back in there for a fourth round. Oof. A lot of blood, though, on Glover's face. That was a tough round. So far, I give every round to Jamal Hill. In the Yuri Prohaska fight, there was this back and forth, where Glover was winning, then Yuri was winning, then Glover was winning, then Yuri was winning. And it was a crazy exchange. But in this fight, it's been all Jamal Hill. Ooh, yeah. Glover's got a serious cut above his eye. Oh, that looks rough. They might have a doctor look at that. Oh my God, that's such a rough cut. Oh, and they're letting it go. Jeez. Jeez, that's a rough cut. Jamal Hill going back to the body. I gotta say, Jamal Hill's striking has been on point in this fight. So smart. So smart with his striking. So smart with Jamal's fight IQ. If Jamal Hill wins this fight, which, I mean, it looks like he's going to. Oh, another head kick from Jamal Hill. You know, I could see him being the champion with his fight IQ. Glover in on the double leg again. I love how, Caleb, back me up on this one. I love how when Glover shoots in for a takedown and, you know, maybe gets stuffed, he doesn't accept the takedown. He goes to the upper body and goes to double underhooks. I love to see Glover doing that. You know, he salvages what he can. Three minutes, 35 seconds left in this fourth round. Whew, another giant head kick from Jamal Hill. And then another hard one, too. Jeez. Glover could take a shot, man. I mean, I would love to see this fight go to the ground a little bit. I know Jamal Hill wouldn't, but I would. Jamal Hill looking like, what do I got to do to put this guy away? And Glover, even though he's got most of his face ripped off, is still marching forward. Still trying to win this fight despite having lost every round. Oh, Glover not looking good there in this exchange, though. Oh, a couple nice shots from Glover. Really rocks Jamal Hill's head back. Whew. What a fight this is. I gotta say, I'm a fan. Glover Teixeira made me a fan. I love to see Glover fight. Whenever he fights, you know it's going to be a real mother effing fight. Glover coming forward here. Like I was saying, there's this interesting idea of a momentum shift that has been trying to happen. And Jamal Hill comes back and shuts it down, says, no, there will be no momentum shift. Oof. There he goes again. Glover, just when he looks like he's starting to take over, Jamal Hill comes back and keeps himself in control of this fight. And looks like the referee's warning Glover that he needs to see more from Glover if he wants to stay in this fight. 1 minute left in this fourth round. Will this see a fifth round? Oof. The ref saying we need to see more from you, Glover. 40 seconds left. This is not looking good for Glover. There's an argument here for this to be stopped. Jamal Hill looking a little bit sloppy with his moves here too. But I mean, Glover's stumbling all over the place. 4 seconds. Whew. What a fight. What a fight. What do you guys think? Whoever's watching, throw me a comment. Damn. What a fight this is. I mean, so far I got every round for Jamal Hill. What's interesting though is I could see Glover sort of up. Are they going to stop it? I think they got the doctor in here. They got the doctor. Looks like he passed the eye test just from reading their lips. Glover says, "Let's go, baby." You got to respect him. I wonder if Jamal Hill's hands hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if he broke his hands on Glover's face. All right. We're 10 seconds into round 5. Let's do it. Let's go, baby. And here we go. The same story. Glover getting beaten up. Ay, ay, ay. Glover in on a single to a double against the fence. Up. Oh, and he gets Jamal Hill down. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. All right. Take your time, Glover. Take your time. Great base switch there. Jamal Hill looking to go into a deep half guard and come up on a single leg to get out. Jamal Hill's got an underhook. He's probably going to look to take that underhook and Glover with a beautiful pass here. Nice back step into a side control situation. Look at Glover's base in that side control. Great stuff there from Glover. Glover, again, looking to backtrack into the guard as the main goal here is to keep Jamal Hill down. Boy, if Glover pulls a submission out here, that would be so epic. Glover steps back into the half guard. Good work here from Glover. This will be a difficult position now for Jamal Hill to get up. And Glover can finally be in a winning situation in this fight. Caleb says, unreal. Glover got that dog in him, dog. Glover into the mount position now. Beautiful, beautiful to see. Beautiful to see. Caleb says Glover is a badass. Oh, no. Oh, I looked at Glover as a badass, and all of a sudden, they switched positions. Oh, no. Oh, that hurts. That hurts me inside to see. You can see Glover's hurt by it, too. Glover's like, ah, damn it. Ah, jeez. All right, what do we got for half guard sweeps here, Glover? How about a nice knee lever sweep? A knee lever would be good. Trying to punch him like this ain't gonna do you any good though. Shit. This is not a winning strategy for Glover now on the bottom of the half guard. Jamal Hill looking to pass. He passes the guard. You know, it's so interesting. The traditional dominant positions in MMA have been worked out in a way where people are so good at escaping that 1 minute left in this fifth round that a lot of times it's better to be in the half guard to hold someone down because then they can't use their legs to wrap the person up or use their legs to heist up to their feet rather. 42 seconds left in this fight. Whew. With those Brazilian judges, they might score this one for Glover. You never know. $20 seconds left. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. And time. Whew, what a fight. What a fight. You know, Jamal Hill wins. Jamal Hill will be champion now. I think this was for the belt. I'm pretty sure. But man, Glover wins in our hearts. Sheesh. Jamal Hill hugs his corner. He's crying. It's a nice moment. I wonder what they're saying to each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. All 3 judges score this contest 50-44 for the winner by unanimous decision and new undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill.
Did it. Pop up, champ.
From where I came from to get to this, it's unreal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with the new champion, Jamal Hill. Jamal, speak about the emotions, man. A kid born in Chicago, based in Grand Rapids, does this. What does this mean to you and your family and your coaches to be the new light heavyweight champion of the world?
Anything's possible. Hard work, dedication, accountability. Don't let nobody tell you nothing. Too many people tried to tell me I couldn't do it. It was impossible. I needed to win in 1 round. I couldn't go 5. What the fuck you gotta say now?
Jamal, you are now the first Dana White Contender Series guy to become a champion. Does that mean something to you? Because to start there, have to earn a contract, and now be wearing a UFC title, that has to feel very special.
I had to fight for everything. I had to fight to be here. I had to fight to get this. I had to fight to just live and have a chance. Man, you can do anything if you're willing to fight for it, dog. For real.
Jamal, let's take a look at some of your work. You landed some killer shots on Glover Teixeira. At times you had to wonder what it would take to get this guy out of there. Left head kick after left head kick. Was that the game plan to switch southpaw and hit him with that? Because he seemed surprised.
It was just something that I found on the fly. It was to come out to try to switch up my stances, throw some different looks and some different things at him. The dude is tough as bricks, man. I don't know anybody who would have been able to take what I was throwing and keep going. Like standing in front of him a couple times when you had him, when he was hurt over here, you hear Mark saying, keep fighting. I was like, God damn it, he is. Shit, he is. He hasn't stopped the whole time. And it's just an honor to share this cage with him, man.
You know, a lot of people question, like you said, can Jamal go 5? Is Jamal just a knockout artist? Every question was answered tonight in your performances. You said you don't believe me, just watch me. Tonight you made everybody stand at attention. What is your message now as the new champion to the rest of the division? Because to me, you are as good as they come, and I'm telling you, it's absolutely real.
Thank you, OG. I appreciate that. And to everybody that's coming, you see where I'm at, come get some.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the new UFC light heavyweight champion, Jamal Hill.
Wow. All right. Well,
I'm with the former champion, Glover Teixeira.
Oh, they're going to do the interview with Glover.
Glover, was this what you expected from Jamal Hill, or was there anything that surprised you about Jamal in the fight that he fought?
The toughness, the speed was there. I gotta tell you, I felt. Tô falando. Pô, desculpa aí, galera. O cara tá perguntando em português. O cara tá perguntando em inglês e eu falei. Não, eu disse. Muito rápido. E a verdade, eu sou muito forte para a minha saúde, para a minha própria saúde. E é hora de parar, cara. Eu vou botar minhas energias aos caras novos, ao Poatan. Eu acho que o Poatan vai segurar o cinturão dele por algum tempo. E depois ele vai subir pro meio pesado.
Turning this into the Brazilian show.
Eu vou ficar aqui. Eu queria ser igual na época do Royce Gracie. Ficar aí, até cair nessa porra aí. E acabar, mas tem round, não tô conseguindo acertar os caras, velocidade não tá lá mais. Com muita honra, de aposentar junto com o Shogun. Eu paro hoje.
Yeah, in reality, though, I think I'm too tough for my own good, too tough for my own health. You know, I can't keep up anymore. I'm going to focus my energy on Alex Pereira, on Poatan. He's going to keep his belt for a while, then go up to light heavyweight. You know, it's an honor put the gloves down on the same night as Shogun. I wish we were in the Royce Gracie area where we can just go no rounds and keep going in this shit, but we're not, and I just not keeping up anymore.
Glover Teixeira, you have been a great person to watch fight, a fantastic career. Congratulations, my friend.
Galera, por favor, eu vi vocês jogando pipoca, cerveja no último campeão. Esse cara vai sair comigo. Eu quero que vocês respeitem, vamos mostrar o nosso carinho na derrota também.
You guys, I saw you guys were throwing popcorn and drinks at the last champion. I want you to respect him. He's going to walk back with me. He's the champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Glover Teixeira and the new UFC light heavyweight champion, Jamal Hill.
Two of the classiest individuals on this roster, top to bottom.
All right, that was a great interview and a great exit.
The gloves for good here tonight.
Good stuff all around. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the stream. I love you all. I hope you have a great rest of your night. And thank you again. Much love.
Every step of the way. A lot of people told him he had to leave Grand Rapids, right, to realize the world.